Before the year 2010, the Deewan Group was a famous name in Pakistan. It was a giant in the world of business. The group was known for making many different things. They built cars that many families drove on the roads. They made sugar that sweetened the tea in countless homes. They also produced textiles, beautiful fabrics that were sold across the country and beyond. The Deewan name was a symbol of quality and success. People trusted their products. The group had a long history of serving the nation, providing jobs to thousands and contributing to the economy in powerful ways. They were not just a company. They were a part of Pakistan's industrial story, a pillar of its economic foundation. But the world was changing fast, and the leaders of Deewan Group knew it. They understood that to stay ahead, they had to look for new challenges. They saw that while they were making great products, getting those products to the people was often slow and difficult. The roads were old. The systems were not modern. This was a problem for everyone, not just for them. It was a problem for the farmer trying to sell his crops. It was a problem for the small shop owner waiting for a delivery. It was a problem that touched every part of Pakistan's economy, making everything a little harder and a little more expensive for the common person. It was during this time that a new idea began to form. This idea was not about making another car or another bag of sugar. It was about building something bigger, something that could help every other industry grow. The dream was to fix the very paths that connected the country. It was about creating a modern system of logistics. This meant better roads, faster trucks, and smarter warehouses. It was a bold vision. It meant stepping into a new world, a world of concrete, steel, and complex networks. This was a gamble, a big risk for a company that was already so successful in other areas. But it was a risk they felt was necessary for the future. The man with this dream was Deewan Yusuf. He was a leader at the Deewan Group. He saw the future not just in what his factories could produce, but in how efficiently they could be connected. He imagined a Pakistan where goods moved without delay. He pictured highways buzzing with activity, linking the ports of Karachi to the markets of the north. This was more than just a business plan. For him, it was a patriotic duty. He believed that strong roads would build a strong nation. This new dream would take the Deewan Group from being just a maker of things to a builder of connections. It was a journey into the heart of Pakistan's infrastructure. To turn his big dream into a reality, Deewan Yusuf knew he needed to see how it was done right. He looked towards a country that had transformed itself with amazing speed, China. He decided to travel there to learn. He wanted to see with his own eyes how China had built its incredible economic power. He knew that their success was not just about making cheap products. It was about their ability to move those products quickly and efficiently across vast distances. He boarded a plane not just as a businessman, but as a student, eager to uncover the secrets behind China's modern miracle. When he arrived in China, what he saw was beyond his expectations. He traveled on wide, smooth highways that stretched for miles and miles. These were not just roads, they were like great rivers of commerce. He watched as countless trucks, loaded with goods, moved seamlessly from factories to ports. There were no long delays, everything was organized, everything was fast. He saw how these highways connected industrial zones, making it easy for factories to get raw materials and send out finished products. This network was the backbone of China's industrial might, the circulatory system that kept its economy pumping with life. The visit was deeply inspiring for Deewan Yusuf. He realized that Pakistan had the same potential. It had the people, the resources, and the spirit. What it lacked was the modern infrastructure. He saw that China's success was built on a simple but powerful idea: connect everything. By building great roads, China had unlocked the power of its industries. He imagined bringing this model back home. He thought about how new highways could connect the cotton fields of Sindh and Punjab to the textile mills. He pictured how they could link the factories of Faisalabad to the port of Karachi, opening up the world market. He returned to Pakistan with a clear vision and renewed determination. The trip to China was the spark that ignited the fire. He was no longer just dreaming, he had a plan. He knew it would be difficult. He knew there would be challenges, but he had seen the future, and he was convinced that Pakistan deserved that same future. He gathered his team and told them about the smooth highways and the busy ports. He explained that this was the key to unlocking Pakistan's true economic power. The journey to modernize Pakistan's logistics was about to begin, fueled by the lessons learned on the roads of China. Full of inspiration from his trip, Deewan Yusuf took the first concrete step. He decided to create a new company dedicated entirely to this mission. This company was named Deewan Logistics. Its purpose was simple but grand: to build a modern transport and warehousing system for Pakistan. This was not just another business unit for the Deewan Group, it was the heart of their new national project. They started by bringing together a team of experts. They hired engineers, planners, and logistics specialists. They wanted the best minds to help them build this new future for the country's trade routes. The first major task for Deewan Logistics was to plan big projects. They did not want to start small. They wanted to make a real impact from the very beginning. The team began designing state-of-the-art warehouses called dry ports. These would be places where goods could be stored safely and processed quickly before being shipped. They also drew up plans for a modern fleet of trucks, equipped with the latest technology for tracking and efficiency. The goal was to create a complete system, from the factory gate to the final destination, that was faster, cheaper, and more reliable than anything Pakistan had seen before. With their plans ready, the next step was to talk to the government. Deewan Yusuf and his team scheduled meetings with important officials. They met with ministers and heads of departments responsible for ports, shipping, and national highways. In these meetings, they presented their vision. They showed them the plans for new facilities and modern truck fleets. They explained how these projects would help the entire economy. Most importantly, they made a bold offer. Deewan Logistics offered to invest its own money, millions of dollars, to build these projects. They were not asking for government handouts. They were offering to be a partner in building the nation. The initial response was positive. Government officials seemed impressed by the scale of the vision and the commitment to invest. They saw the potential benefits for the country. Deals began to be discussed. Agreements were drafted for building new logistics terminals near major industrial hubs. The dream was slowly starting to look like a reality. Trucks were being ordered. Land was being identified for the new dry ports. A sense of excitement filled the offices of Deewan Logistics. They were on the verge of starting a revolution in Pakistan's transport sector, a revolution built on private investment and a powerful national vision. Just as Deewan Logistics started to gain momentum, the first signs of trouble appeared. The logistics sector in Pakistan was not empty. It was controlled by established players, groups who had been running things for a long time. These rival contractors were not happy to see a new, powerful company enter their territory. They saw Deewan's ambitious plans as a threat to their own businesses. A modern, transparent system would disrupt their way of doing things and potentially reduce their profits. They were not going to give up their control easily. These rivals began to create problems. They used their influence to create political barriers. Suddenly, government approvals that seemed certain began to face delays. Meetings were cancelled at the last minute. Files that needed signatures would get, well, lost in the bureaucracy. It became clear that powerful forces were working behind the scenes to slow Deewan down. These were quiet battles fought in the hallways of power, where connections and influence mattered more than business plans. Deewan Yusuf realized that building roads was not just about concrete and steel. It was also about navigating a complex political landscape. The problems became very real at Karachi port, the gateway to Pakistan's trade, but they faced constant sabotage. Their trucks were often delayed for no good reason. New, unnecessary barriers and checkpoints would suddenly appear, causing long traffic jams. It felt like every step forward was met with 2 steps back. These were targeted actions designed to frustrate Deewan's efforts and make their service look unreliable. This constant struggle started to cause stress inside the company. The financial costs were rising and the delays were eating into their budget. Some members of the Deewan Group's board began to have doubts. They held serious meetings to discuss the situation. People asked if it was wise to continue pouring money into a project that faced so much opposition. Was this logistics gamble worth the risk to the entire group? It was a time of internal debate, a test of their resolve to see this difficult journey through. The opposition grew more organized and public. The biggest challenge came from the National Logistics Cell, a powerful state-run logistics organization. Seeing Deewan Logistics as a direct competitor, NLC took legal action. They filed a court case against Deewan, claiming that Deewan's operations were improper and that they were being given an unfair advantage. The case went to court, and a legal battle began. Both sides had to present their arguments. NLC's lawyers argued that they were the primary national logistics provider and that Deewan's entry was disruptive. It was a classic fight between an established state entity and a new private challenger. Deewan Logistics had to defend itself. In court, their lawyers argued that they were promoting healthy competition. They explained that their investment was good for Pakistan. It would lower costs for businesses and ultimately for the consumers. They told the court that a modern economy needs multiple strong logistics companies, not just one monopoly. They presented their vision of a more efficient system that would benefit everyone. The court case became a symbol of the larger struggle, the old way of doing things versus a new, more competitive future. The legal battle dragged on, consuming time, money, and energy that could have been spent on building infrastructure. Beyond the courtroom, a darker kind of pressure began to mount. Rumors started to spread that powerful and secret agencies were keeping a close watch on Deewan Yusuf and his team. It was whispered that their ambition was seen as a challenge to vested interests that reached into the highest levels of the state. Friends and well-wishers would quietly pass on warnings. They advised Deewan to be careful, to back down. They hinted that he was angering very powerful people who did not want the status quo to change. This created an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, making it even harder to run the business. Amidst these domestic troubles, there was a ray of hope from abroad. The scale and ambition of Deewan's project had attracted the attention of major international companies. Several large Chinese logistics firms, who understood the value of modern infrastructure, expressed interest in partnering with Deewan. They saw the potential in Pakistan and were impressed by Deewan's private investment. They held meetings and discussed possibilities of joint ventures. However, the ongoing political issues and the court cases made them hesitate. They were willing to invest, but they were worried about the instability and the powerful opposition. The international interest was a sign of hope, but it was a hope held back by the local conflict. Despite all the challenges, Deewan Group did not give up. They fought their battles in the courts and continued to build their business on the ground. They kept their focus on their main goal, to provide better logistics services. Through sheer persistence, they achieved several important successes. They successfully opened new dry ports in key industrial areas. These facilities were modern and efficient, offering businesses a much better way to handle their cargo. They also introduced new technology, like GPS tracking for their entire fleet of trucks. This brought a new level of transparency and reliability to the transport sector in Pakistan. These achievements did not go unnoticed. Even as they fought their battles, their hard work was recognized. In a significant moment of validation, Deewan Logistics won a prestigious award. They were named the Brand of the Year in the logistics category. This award was a testament to their innovation and their commitment to quality, even under immense pressure. It was a victory not just for the company, but for their vision. It proved that their ideas were sound and that they were making a positive impact on the industry, changing it for the better one step at a time. This recognition gave them renewed strength to carry on. In the end, the logistics venture did not become the massive, profitable giant they had hoped for overnight. The constant opposition and political hurdles took their toll. The business was not always profitable, but for Deewan Yusuf and his team, it was never just about the money. Their dream was bigger than a balance sheet. They wanted to build something lasting for Pakistan. They wanted to create a foundation for future economic growth. Their message remained consistent and clear. They were building for tomorrow. They believed that even if they faced losses today, the infrastructure they were creating would serve the nation for decades to come. The story of Deewan Logistics is a powerful lesson in patriotism and perseverance. It is a story of a dream for a better Pakistan. It shows how difficult it can be to bring change, especially when you challenge old systems. but it also shows what can be achieved with courage and a clear vision. The highways they wanted to build were more than just roads for trucks. They were pathways to a more prosperous future for all Pakistanis. The legacy of Deewan's gamble is not just in the ports they built or the awards they won, but in the powerful idea that private enterprise can and should play a role in building a stronger nation.